Welcome back to the Win with Dice podcast, a podcast featuring members of the Win with Dice team. I'm Calvin, and I'm joined here by Ramon.
Hey guys, sorry you missed me last week. I was having a bunch of a little internet troubles.
Yeah, totally out of your control, unfortunately, but we were able to get you back this week. Did have a good episode last week talking to Cam about character creation and some new ideas and stuff that I hadn't heard of, so be sure to go check out last week's episode.
Yeah, check that one out, especially about the utensils. I thought they were pretty cool.
Yeah, that wasn't something I'd heard of, but something she got from her DM. So yeah, that was a really fun episode. Be sure to check it out. We also did some random stuff towards the end of it, where we tried to make up random encounters, because this here podcast is a podcast about tabletop RPGs, running them, playing them, and our experiences on either side of the screen to hopefully take a casual approach to running your own game, so you can feel more comfortable doing so some point in the future, if you haven't tried it yet or if you're interested in it.
Mm-hmm. All right.
He said introingly.
Introingly, yes. I don't know, do you want to jump into the next segment here?
Sure. Do we have any more flim flam for the intro? We don't really do. I guess we can just get right into the Win with Dice weekly GM tip of the week.
Yes, the Win with Dice weekly GM tip of the week, brought to you by Calvin this week. Yeah,
I randomly offered to do this.
You fool.
Yeah, I got you back this week, and then I didn't take the excuse to not have to give a tip. Actually, I made Cam do it last week, so I guess this makes up for it. But yes, Win with Dice weekly GM tip of the week, where we're trying to squeeze in a little bit of advice right before the show. I was actually thinking of... This is a session that you missed, Ramon, but the session that Tim, who's been running our Lost Might of Phandelver game, ran for us. It was sort of like a one-shot thing, a non-canon one-shot, where we just had a beach episode, which I want to talk about in the future. I don't know if we'll get to it this episode, but probably by next week we will, because it was a whole lot of fun. But something really interesting that he did was we had this brief moment where we were playing some beach volleyball.
Oh, cool.
And I won't go too much into the plot stuff, but I thought it was just really interesting to put this game in front of the players, this mini game, and then we had to do some like back and forth testing of it as things went on, like what sort of checks to roll, setting the DCs, how things work out, and a lot of it worked out pretty much right away. Like the most of the function of it just took some adjusting of numbers and some determining of some specific things and some specific edge cases. But I think what I wanted to use for a tip is just... don't be afraid to change up the rules for specific situations. Like, if you don't have a rule set in whatever game you're playing for a specific thing you want to do, whether it's a beach volleyball game or some kind of chase or something like that, if you can put the rules out comfortably in front of people, and you might have to adjust things on the fly, but so long as you're communicating with your players and explaining clearly and openly, like, what seems to be working here, what isn't working, I think that is that's just game design right there. Which is a major element of DMing to me. That is just designing game functions, game mechanics, with people who are testing them. You essentially have game testers in front of you, and you're working back and forth with them to determine what's working here, what isn't working, what can we keep, and what needs adjusting. That's a major part of like video game development, and also a part of tabletop game development. And it's just really cool to like do that on the fly, because now we have this system in place. And it's also very similar, Ramon, to what you were doing with your narrative thing in Lancer a while back. Like, now that we've gone through that, we see, well, what works here, what's fun here, and what might need to be adjusted a bit, what didn't work out the way you wanted it to. So that next time you come through with it, it works perfectly fine and smoothly right off the bat, or at least close to it. I think that's important part of the game. Yep.
Yeah, I totally get it, man. Like, I think in every time you, not even necessarily even if you just homebrew something, but let's say you're just running an adventure. If you've never run that adventure before, it's like you're testing it out for the first time, right? So it's like, what are the do's and the don'ts? Maybe it's something isn't communicated properly in like a pre-run adventure or something like that, and you have to make it something in a spot, or like you have to work it in. Everything's like, unless you've been a veteran DM who's been DMing for like 10 years and running the same exact game, not maybe the exact game, but the same kind of story campaign for different sets of players, you're never really going to fine tune that, right? Everything you give your players is usually just the first time it's going to happen, and it could completely fall apart. So, don't worry about it. Change it on the fly. Maybe adjust some numbers in the background. There's a reason why DM screens exist, right? So we can lie. Like,
yeah. I mean, do what you got to do. I never lie, of course. I've never once lied.
Neither have I. Never, ever.
But yeah, definitely don't be afraid to modify things as you're playing. So long as the communication is open with your players and you explain why you're doing what you're doing and do it in a way that's fair, it'll work out for the better in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. Well, Thanks, Calvin. That was your weekly GM, Women Dice weekly GM tip of the week. All right, I got it.
Yeah, that volleyball game was intense. I can't wait to tell you about that.
To be fair, I'm pretty excited to hear about. I love it when people invent games within games. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, man.
It's like that Witcher game, like the card game in The Witcher, where you play it, and people are like, we should just make that a game because it's so much fun. But yeah, no, I think it's pretty cool, and I think there should be more of like, oh hey, here's just a book of how to play soccer or whatever, but in D&D, like what would the rules be, like what would the checks and stuff would be. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool to put together.
Totally, that's why I like this, because it's like you can just, it's a very specific thing, but we can just apply it whenever now, if this somehow comes up again.
Well, shit, now we just gotta play a beach volleyball campaign because Tim already has the rules for it. It's like, that would be funny as hell.
Yeah, man.
We could play a bunch of hot dudes and dudettes and just be like, oh yeah, beach body time. Like,
volleyball
Tim,
game
if you're listening,
for the fate of the universe.
Yeah, for the fate of the universe, right? Some real what if shit. So, yeah, it'd be cool. So yeah, cool. Let's maybe I don't know. The idea is in my head now. We gotta get out of here. I'm gonna keep talking about it.
Well, we'll save it for the beach episode of our podcast. But we've got some games to talk about. We got a whole bunch of things to talk about. There's the beach episode. I ran some Crown of Dragons. But I think before all that happened, if I'm remembering the order of time correctly, you ran a session.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like I don't do that anymore. It feels like forever, actually, because I'm very spoiled to have lots of friends who are like, I'll DM my game, and it's like, okay, cool. I get to take like a sabbatical, like,
right?
Which was cool. So I actually ran for you guys, and Payne and Rebecca and my wife Abby, the pirate campaign. I guess we don't have a good name for it. I call it the pirate campaign because Helen's a pirate.
It's acceptable.
Yeah, and it's the adventures where there's this Helen Highwater, played by Calvin, and Ray and Rain and Misty and all the gang. They are a bunch of cutthroat thieves and murderers that just so happen to stumble across a ancient elven artifact from a evil noble who was doing nefarious things with it. And through a bunch of, I guess, misadventures and stuff, was wind up at the epicenter at a full-blown apocalypse on this one elven city, and the whole place burnt down because a giant ancient dragon showed up, was revived, and burnt the entire place down, and then they left promptly.
We escaped. Thank you.
Oh, at a brisk pace, you guys.
Yes.
So yeah, actually, wait. When's the last time I did a recap of this? Do I have to do all of it? Shit.
I honestly don't remember. It has been a while. I think we've at least explained the whole Elven City thing, which brought us to be out on the sea. Oh no, we did, because I'm looking at our old episodes and I see the one that has a thumbnail with a Sharknado in it. So you've definitely at least explained the session before that.
Right. So, okay, from the previous session, I'll just start there. Everyone got a little bit of a lore dump, which was not helpful to anyone because the things that they're dealing with is old and ancient, and they're like, this has nothing to do with us in the present. This is some weird mythology stuff. We don't need it. But you guys decide to, one, you guys need components to recreate the demon net that worked on Mr. Sonata so well last time, so you guys to make a new one. The only way to get the components, because they're kind of weird and magical, is to go to the witch market. but you guys have no clue how to get there because then you guys are witches. So although Rain is getting way closer and is probably, I would give her the witch status after this session. It's pretty cool. Stay tuned for that. But so you guys talk to all the NPCs, and we're heading back to I think it was Lacante. Yes. Which was kind of like this, or like the Coral Coast, kind of like this really long coastline. Kind of think of like Chile, but instead of it being on the side of like South America, it's like smack dab like in the Caribbean, I guess it would be, right? This really big long coast, and it's a very maritime kind of place. And to go see Mornstone, who is the I would guess my businessman character. It's like, hey, do you want to get paid for a job? Go to Mornstone. He's all about that life. Yeah. Previously, you guys did a job for him by dealing with some pirates from that was a part of or associated with, I should say, DeGrasse, which is one of a bad man from Helen's backstory. I would say he's the bad man from Helen's backstory.
Yep. This is the guy who portrayed Helen's parents, her parents both being members of this pirate crew on this one ship that she was born on. This DeGrasse guy betrayed all of them and helped get them all captured and destroyed, and the ship sunk to the bottom of the sea. Or so she thought.
Mm-hmm. But during that kind of adventure where you guys dismantled one of his operations, you guys found half of the ship that was sunk, which was real weird. And then you were able to recover like a pendant from your mom, from Helen's mom, that was thought to be lost at sea. And then Helen fought her dad, sorry, as a weird ghost zombie thing that was constantly drowning. And then Helen's dad was like, by the way, your mom's still alive. Bleh.
Yep.
Which is like, earth-shattering shit for this poor little halfling woman just trying to, not get her crew stolen from her by like the other savory people in her party.
Just trying to be a pirate.
So yeah, but the plan was to go to Mornstone and to maybe gear up and dump off some NPCs that everyone kind of collected.
Yeah, we had rescued some people, much to Helen's chagrin.
Yeah, so the ship is real full right now. And also, I forget his name.
Which one? I have my good notes here. Last time we played, I forgot my notebook, so I didn't have the actual notes I wrote down. So now I have all of my notes.
The guy that is in a coma.
Balthazar.
Balthazar, yes. Balthazar. He is a historian that worked with Zendaya, who is a herself kind of like.
Not her original name though. She just looked like Zendaya.
Yeah, and then her name was definitely Zendaya. So they were working together at this elven university as historians, but he was actually poisoned. But also was about to get exploded at the same time. It was all sorts of wackiness I had with them, which led to a chase around the city and a brief fight with a really weird simp guy.
That was Falzor, right? The annoying
Falzor, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, the annoying
led
bomber
us into
guy.
his home base, and we had to fight him.
Yes, that was good times. He's in a coma because he was still poisoned. You guys are able to stabilize him, so he's not dying, but he's still like knocked out right now. So you guys are trying to get some medical attention too, I believe. But yeah, you talk to Morster. Morster's like, hey, on the way you guys fought a Sharknado.
Yeah.
Right? Which was weird, and you ended up, fighting a witch who was piloting the Sharknado, killed her, and then took her shoes, as you do, a la Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Look, everyone in the party can fly except me, so I will take some boots, okay?
Hey, well, to be fair, okay, 2 people in the party can fly, 1 can walk on water, and you have a ship, so I don't understand why you're complaining.
Well, it's not like I can be on the ship everywhere. There's water everywhere.
Okay, Calvin. So you took this poor lady's shoes who's trying to kill you, right? And
she's just trying to kill us. I mean,
yeah,
it's a little hostile.
So simple. Yeah, it was fine. It was just her job, okay? All right, well, this poor, hardworking woman got murdered by you bastard adventurers.
Yeah, working your 9 to 5.
Yeah, 9 to 5. But she dropped a coin, which is a part, a doubloon or a gold piece that was like a part of the original treasure from the incident of your old pirate ship, the formidable something.
The formidable foe.
Formidable foe, yes, from the formidable foe.
Fortune. I actually don't remember. I wrote down formidable foe, but I think that's wrong. I will have to check my Helen notes.
I'll say formidable, yes. So you're like, what the hell? Why does she have it? And all that kind of stuff. But you turned out Mornstone is like, oh hey, I need you to kill these witches who are terrorizing my shipping lanes, right? And you're like, sure, man, you pay us lots of money, we'll do anything for you. Except you guys wanted to figure out where the witch market is, and I was like, and Mornstone's like, well, the witches probably know, and you're like, oh, true. Like, yep. So, yeah, actually, and here's the IRL portion of this. I lost my notes completely. I don't know if I deleted them or they're on some other device or something, but
Have you still not found them?
Nope, I have no clue where they are. But I had a whole adventure planned out like 3 months ago, or like whenever the last time we started this session, and then it was, or this leg of the campaign. But it's like I literally lost them. But like I had read it all the way through before, so I kind of knew what the major beats were. I just didn't remember like the intricacies of like the internal structure of like a dungeon or something like that. But I kind of had an idea. It's like you guys are like fighting this, and it's kind of, your eyes are on the sea, so it's a little watery and shit like that. So I was like, I could probably pull this off, right? So they decided Mornstone kind of just like gave them a map and like showed them where all the attacks were from the shipping lanes, and then there were some pirating checks that had to be made, which I think Helen actually failed. And then we like said, yeah, but I was like, but here's an instance where like, well, if Helen doesn't know and Morrison doesn't know, like who would actually know, right? So then I had like Jasper kind of just like walk into frame, and he's like, oh, Captain, it's upside down. You're reading it upside down. And you're like, oh, okay.
Of course.
Right. See, no one has a Jasper.
Yeah, a dependable first mate.
Yeah, no one has a dependable first mate to like listen to you. But yeah, you guys are able to get the mermaid dagger out to those waters, and basically was like, I guess we'll just wait. You guys actually sailed into this kind of weird spot in the ocean where all of a sudden it was covered in mist and the water was completely still. There was no air or anything like that. But that's not a big deal for the dagger, because you have Jasper, who is also a druid who can just make wind on command.
That's why he's here.
Yeah, that's why it's here. So, but then everyone was like, this is probably the spot. It's a little eerie. They must be close by. So Rain, my wife's character, she hops overboard and changes into her. She's playing a druid, but she also, so she told me, okay, feels like so long. I have to catch everybody up. She told me that she wanted to be a fairy princess. A magical fairy princess. And I was like, I don't know how to make a magical fairy princess, but you could probably be a druid, because I'm pretty sure Disney characters can talk to animals. And I was like, if anybody's going to be a character like from Disney, it's a druid. So I did that. But then I also made up a bunch of homebrew rules where she gets to transform into these garments. My wife's into fashion, or to give her like, bonuses. So she has this bonus, this garb that lets her walk on water. So she goes, transforms, walks in water, and then she's like kind of looking around, doing checks and stuff. And then immediately out from the deep, I just had a giant megalodon show up and just nom on her, which was pretty funny. Yeah, and everybody freaked out because everybody was like, how big is it? It's very big.
Yeah, it was like huge.
It was huge. It was gargantuan specifically. I had to ask Calvin how big gargantuan it was.
I was like, pretty damn big.
So yeah, I know the way I described it too. I had my DM screen up and I took a little D4 and I was like, what did you? So the roll perception. And this is what you see. And I had a little D4 kind of crest over the screen symbolizing like the shark fin, which is pretty fun. Everybody was like, whoa, right? But then, this Megalodon fight happened. It was actually appropriate for your level, by the way.
If you say so.
It was only CR. It was only CR9. You guys are level 5. It's 4 above. We're in the range, baby. It's all good.
Oh, okay. Wow, you know what? I should start throwing some CR9 stuff at my Crown of Dragons players. I think the highest I've gotten so far is 7 or a boosted 6. I should go up to 9, see what happens.
Shit, you should show Megalodon on them. It was only one of them anyway, so it was like, it's only one. And to be fair, this fight actually wasn't to the death anyway. It was only like half of its hit points is going to run away. So anyway, the fight starts. My Rain gets bit, and Megalodons have the ability to have grab, so she's like in its jaws, grappled as this thing kind of thrashes around. At that point, I think Missy clicked their boots and started flying, and Ray jumped on. What's the pterodactyl's name?
Pedro, the pterodactyl.
Pedro, yeah, Pedro the pterosaur, yeah. So Pedro, the pterodactyl, they were flying. I believe Missy came in and started stabbing the shark. Then the shark proceeded to eat Rain on his next turn because it had swallow whole, and then bit down, and now Missy was in his jaws. And then Ray, our barbarian friend, who's flying a pterodactyl. This is the best part of this game is crazy. Yes, so yes. he goes and dives bomb like with the pterosaur, which somehow that pterosaur being like 3rd level or whatever, CR3 or something small like that, lands a hit on the damn shark who's CR9. It bites him, but also flings Ray into the thing's mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, Ray also lands a crit on the thing too. Like, it was all sorts of craziness. So this man, slashes the thing, but now him, like Ray and Rain are in the shark's stomach while Misty is, chomping away. And I don't know what Helen was doing. I forget.
Helen shot a bow. All right. I was out there with my normal short bow. No, I directed the crew to toss a rope down. Because at the time, it was, I think it was Misty and Rain in there. So it was like, let's get a rope down and then see if we can figure something out. And then Ray just, went in.
Leroy Jenkins' way into the shark's stomach. But anyway, so they're in there, and Ray has with the power of the fire amulet, which is like the MacGuffin, right? So she has the MacGuffin around her neck, which allows her to pull out this flaming sword. So with the power of Aid and Ray, they were able to start slicing into the shark. But you need to do 20 damage to rupture, like when you're trapped inside of like a creature's stomach, and they did like, I don't know, like 19. It was so close, or 18 or something. It was so close, and I was like, nah, one more turn into this thing would be pretty funny. Because I know Ray could probably do 20 damage easy, right? So we just have to wait till his turn, right? So I was like, oh, lol, this will be better. But then our super assassin Misty, mind you, she's playing a fighter with 2 knives, which is apparently super scary. She has this poison dagger. Okay, so she has a poison dagger called Steve, who's the snake dagger who does like stabbing and poison damage. But she also has a duplicate ring, which just duplicates anything. So she has 2 Steve snake daggers.
Yes.
She goes and throws both of them in for some reason.
Yep.
Instead of the duplicate one, she goes and throws both of them. And I was like, okay, because, she's like Looney Tunes in it, right? So the shark's mouth is open. She's like standing using her legs to pry the shark open. And she could like see in the shark and see Ray and Rain trying to struggle out. So she throws a dagger at the spot that they're cutting. And then I think she misses one and hits the other. And with one dagger throw, she does like 20 damage.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are you so strong? Like, oh, no. Sorry, it was both daggers, and she did like almost 30 damage. It was like 20 something, 25, 26 damage, because it counts as one attack for DR purposes or those kind of purposes. So yeah, I explained like they're cutting their way. It's almost like they're trying to solder through this mound of flesh, but it's not like cutting through, and then all of a sudden and then just like, rush of water come in, and they're expelled from the shark, and the shark was super unhappy about that. So then it just left.
It tried to.
Yeah, it tried to leave, but it's being injured. It's been like attacked, and it was like leaving around this like big, long blood trail right in the water. So you guys, with some recovering everybody else, were able to navigate their way through like the bloodstream to where this thing is returning to, and where you guys, feel like, oh look, like in the water you can see like some, like in the distance there's like rocks and underwater caverns and stuff like that. So you're like, oh cool, this must be where the witches are. I think with some like arcane checks or like lore checks or something like that, you guys are able to piece together that like the witches, the sea hags, I was using like sea hags, they can live near water, and they can swim and stuff underwater, but to cast magic and to do their magic stuff they have to have air. So you're like, you can surmise that the watery caverns they would have like a pocket of air so you guys can go under. So then Rain donned on her water walking boots again and stepped down. She's like, okay, I'm gonna knock on the water to get their attention, right? And she's like, we come in peace, we just want to talk, right?
Yeah, and it did manage to get some attention, I guess. Can't say it didn't work.
Yeah, so then I had like a fish show up. Like, I don't know, I was like, they're a bunch of witches, right? So they have a bunch of animals. So this fish goes up and it was like, blurp. And then she's like, oh, can we talk to somebody? And he's like, blurp. And then so he dives back down. And then I had two, I think they're called Tritons, show up. Two fishmen. Where like, I guess they're kind of shark men. Shark lizardy folk.
Sea Devil?
Sea Devil, that's what they're called. Yeah.
I think. That's what I wrote down.
Yeah,
I hope that's right.
Oh yeah, they're Sea Devils. There's a whole bunch of like different sea people. And they're all kind of like, the bad guy sea people. So they're all like, they have like spears and sharp teeth and stuff like that. But I think these guys, Sea Devils, are specifically like shark-ish people.
Yeah.
So anyway, presumably like this megalodon was theirs, and they're like, what the fuck? You killed our megalodon, and you killed I think I called her Bagni.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bagni
with the Sharknado.
Who was piloting the Sharknado previously. And Bagni, she was like super. Everyone's like, you killed Bagni, man. Eye for an eye. Like you owe us a person. And you're like, we didn't kill Bagni. Some other people killed Bagni, and they're dead now. And they believed it because you rolled like a 30.
Yeah, I'm a good liar. I'm a pirate.
Right. So then they're like, okay, fine. But you still killed our shark or whatever, right? Or no, so I shouldn't say you didn't kill our shark. They're like, okay, you hurt our shark pretty bad. Can you bring somebody to save him, right? Like heal him, right? So then everybody was real tense. They're like, okay, only one person can go. And then so Rain was like, okay, I'll go. Don't worry, I'll talk to them, right? So then the Sea Devils take her underwater, and because they can move super fast, they were able to like drag her like down deep. She didn't have to hold her breath too long, but they dragged her into like this. I described it as like this big, creepy cavern. It almost looks like a jaw with a bunch of stalactites and stalagmites, almost like this toothy jaw, into this inky blackness. As like, you swim deeper into the underwater cave, but eventually they're able to get to a air pocket, and it was dark, like 100% super duper dark. And then Rain was there by herself, and I described it as it being like, really wet and slippery, and like it smells kind of awful, like, like rotting fish and stuff like that, like really bad, icky sea stuff, right? It was not fun and kind of creepy. So then, it was completely dark. So Rain was like, okay, cool. I cast, fairy fire, right? I think it's called what the spell is called. So dancing lights. So, yeah. Thanks. It's like I wasn't even there.
Between the two of us, we'll remember things.
Yeah. So she cast a little almost like fireflies around the place. And I said, like, as soon as you get up from the water, you actually notice that all of the sea devils are gone. You're just by yourself. But as soon as you cast light, it's like she can see like this almost like it's beached and kind of dragged up big fishy body, which is obviously the megalodon. And you can see like the wound. But also as you like kind of look around, it's hard to see, but it's like deeper into the caverns. I started saying that you hear like wet footsteps like clamoring around. And she's like, oh shit. You know, what's going on, right? And then she walked over to she's like, okay, don't worry, don't attack me or whatever. I'm just going to heal this thing. She goes over to the thing, tries to do her thing, but then she realizes that the head of it was split open. Like she couldn't see from where it was, so she had to walk around it because this thing's pretty massive. See, the head was split open. And she's like, oh shit, this thing's super dead. And then I had that moment, and I did some creepy voices, which I had tons of fun doing.
Yes, those were a lot of fun.
You know, so all the witches, you know, one of the witches were starting to talk to her, but she couldn't pin out because the cabin were so weird and so many echoey and dark corners to kind of like hide in. So I was like, yeah, man. You start hearing a voice, and then another voice chimes back from another direction, signaling that she's kind of surrounded. And I said, like, yeah, there's all these little cacklings and stuff like that. And then I immediately just I said, like, there's a little bit of cackling, and then it faced to black. And I literally cut the scene there and just went back onto the boat.
Yep.
Where I was like, and then I was like, oh yeah, and then Abby or Rain just shows back up, and everybody was like, oh cool. And then I handed Abby a note saying, you are a mimic. And Abby immediately was like, okay, cool, I get it.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. She did try to give us hints, but I didn't pick up on any of them because I was just so focused on, like, one of the sea devils stayed on the ship, so I was just really focused on that. I didn't know we had a fake Rain or a Fane.
A Fane.
On the ship with us.
Yeah, but I mean, the mimic did a good job, I think. And Abby was a good sport about it. She was like, "Oh, sick. Let me try and roll with this," which was super appreciated because I kind of gave up all this stuff like on the spot. So then, you know, fake Rain kind of gets on the ship. Also, Rain had to go down there because since Misty threw both her daggers, the real one and the duplicated one in there, Steve the Snake dagger was stuck in the the megalodon. So, you know, she was also sent down there to retrieve that, which then the mimic took and obviously brought back because he's like, oh shit, I gotta make sure this thing makes sense. But the mimic's goal was to get the coin from you guys, and so you guys are like, oh shit, the mimic's like, yo, they wanted the coin, and everyone's like, why did they want the coin? And then everybody started doing like arcana checks and stuff like that to try and figure out if the coin's magical or something like that. But Rain, being like one of the only magic users actually on the party, which is hilarious, you guys were like just literally handed it to her, and at that point the mimic's like, Abby rolled the arcana check, right, and it was like 30, and everybody was like, okay, cool. And I was like, okay, cool, yeah. You hand the coin over to Rain, and Rain, like, inspecting it, is like, yeah, this thing feels like it's magical. Let me take a closer look. And then she just jumped over the board. Yep. Everybody was like, what?
Brief moment of surprise, and then pursuit, which only Helen stuck to.
Yes. So immediately the whole party dived in, which I thought was so funny. Everyone was like, oh shit, she's a Fane, right? She jumps in, and I described as like the mimic transforms into a one of those sea devils who were able to swim very fast, and so, you know, the thing boots like rockets off while you guys are like swimming. So I had it like because the trek was a little bit longer underwater, I set up like a 4-stage track, and you basically just had to roll athletics check while you're swimming, with a little bit of variation depending on what kind of armor you're wearing, to just make it. So you just have to make progress, and you could hold your breath. I think we looked up the holding your breath rules and drowning rules and stuff like that because of, you know, all the swimming and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it was like a time limit
because I like to drown players.
Yeah. So then, you know, I think everybody, like, so Misty failed and was like, nope, I'm done. So Missy went back, Ray went back, but Helen, who is the best swimmer of all, made it all the way through. And once again, I had a PC alone underwater inside of a hag coven with like a whole bunch of hags, and they were like, "Lol, you came here by yourself."
Yeah, sure is a good thing I can't see in the dark.
As well, you didn't bring any sources of light, so you're there having your sword out, which is Quick Wit, which is this cool magical sword you lifted off of a dude, which is pretty funny. So you had Quick Wit, walking around, poking around. I said, like, you're stumbling around in the dark. You managed to find the dead Megalodon corpse, and you're like, oh, cool. But then, some cool perception checks later, you were able to pick up on Ray's voice in the background, because Abby was like, because we're real. I think everybody's a little bit of an actor, so she like immediately was like, "Oh shit, someone's here! Save me!" Right? But I used that as my advantage as like a DM. I was like, "Okay, cool, yeah, you totally hear that, right?" And then Abby's like, "Yeah, I'm over here." So eventually with a little bit of banter from the hags, sneering at you, Helen found out that the hags knew who she was, surprisingly. Yeah. And knew who, and like obviously they exclaimed like, oh yeah, we work for we are working with what's it called, the grass. And you're like, what do the coins mean? Like, oh, the coins are so powerful or whatever, right? And stuff like that. So then they're like, ooh, maybe we should just use you because you have the blood of whoever. And you're like, or your mom, and you're like, what does my mom have to do with this? And then eventually I was like, okay, you hone in on Ray's voice, and then you start running to her, and then you find her. It feels like she's kind of tied up against the rock, and then I said, like, these ghostly fires light up, and you realize that you're not actually talking to Ray, it's a hag, and you look around and you're like literally surrounded by like 12 hags, and then I cut to black, back to the ship.
It happened again.
It was so funny. I can't believe it. So yeah, eventually, everyone remembered on the ship. They're like, "Oh shit, where's the captain?" And then Misty's like, "I'm the captain now. Don't worry." Lol, JK. We need to find a way to swim underwater. Then the boys on the ship whipped up 2 potions of water breathing because Crow's like an alchemist, and what's his name? Jasper is a druid. So I was like, yeah, they can probably figure it out, right? Yeah. And then those 2 drank it, and then went back in water and kind of just got their way there. And then excuse me, I took a drink of water. Whoa, this is a crazy story. What the heck? All right, so these guys got their way through the cave. I described the cave being like almost like a giant gnarled beast, like a aquatic beast, almost like an anglerfish. Swim their way up in this complete darkness, but then Misty had some sunrods on her, so she cracked open some sunrods and were able to use them. I like the way they found the corpse of the megalodon, and I described the place as being like really slick and wet, but you hear, like I told them that they heard nothing.
Yeah.
Total darkness. So I was like, yeah, you guys can like bumble around the cave for a little bit, and then I cut back to the Hag central chamber where Helen is coming to, being strung up, and seeing that her arm has been drained of some blood, and a bunch of hags sitting around this coral cauldron. Like it's almost like it's made out of like natural corals and stuff like that, and like rock. And they're all there, sneering and chanting. And you see like this hag, but she's not a hag. This witch. She looks like everybody else, except she's like beautiful, right? Comparison. She's like, oh yes, this is a small portion of the power that flows through your veins. As she like has like a bowl, and it's like these coins are being steeped in your blood that's been drained from your arm. And you're like, oh, that's not good. Yeah. So obviously the head hag has the bowl, and she's like, oh, I am like I'm the head hag. I'm Zilla. I'm so cool. We're gonna drain all the blood from you. And like she's like, I don't think we actually need DeGrasse anymore. We have all of the power here. And you ask some questions, and then about the the coins of why is everything related and why you need your blood. And he said, and they basically were like, yeah, these coins are cursed coins and we use them to augment our magic, right? Use them as fuel for our witch hag magic. But you're cursed too, so if we just have your blood, that's even better, right?
Yeah, which is all news to me.
Yeah, we were like, what? What does that even mean, right? But then Ray wakes up and she was basically like, anytime Ray has my wife has the ability, and like her character's like, I want to talk shit to somebody. So she started talking a lot of shit about Zilla and her hags and stuff like that, and how like, hey man, if I get out of here, I'm gonna get you. And she's like, well, you're never gonna get out of here, or like it wasn't gonna get out of here. And then everybody was like, yeah, but like I think she wanted to join the coven. And I was like, Zilla's like, I don't think you want to join the coven. She's like, yeah, I want to take over your coven. She's like, lol, what? No way. Like, this is my gang, right? I feel like everybody in that party just wants to be the gang leader. Yeah, it was just be the mob boss.
Yeah, one of them was into it though.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun playing all the hags because I like the idea that they're all kind of like, to me, like hags are dangerous, but they're also like Looney Tune villains. Like they're like cartoonish villains where they get to like make comedy about stuff.
Yeah.
So she's like, everyone's chattering back and forth and giving little quips, but then there was like this one character like tossing the coin back around and everybody's like taking a look at it or whatever. But then this hag who's like the runt of the litter, like the weakest one, called Angie, and she drops the coin. Everyone's like, fish fingers Angie, like making fun of her, right? Because they're all a bunch of dicks. And then Thing was like, hey Angie, I'll be your friend or whatever, right? Don't listen to these guys. And then I cut back to the commando squads who were just like, making their way through the underwater cave or whatever, and they wand up across to like, fail some stealth checks. Sea Devil showed up and was like, they're looking for you. What do you guys do? And so instead of like, just making it a fight right there, because I was like, it's just two Sea Devils. Like these guys are gonna murder them anyway. Like who cares, right? I was like, I'll give you guys a chance. You guys have to make one attack roll, and if you kill both of them, right, in like one go, like then there's no alert. It's kind of just like the quick kill from like Hitman or something like that, or Tom Clancy or some shit like that, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. I mean, Ray and Misty are like the powerhouses of the team. Like these guys, if anyone wants to put people into the ground, is these two, right? So then they roll, and obviously like these guys only have 30 HP. And they did like 30 and 31. And I was like, oh.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
just
impressed.
Ground immediately.
Just ground immediately into dust. And I was just like, oh shit. Cut back to the place where now they're like, oh cool, we'll drain some more blood. And Helen's like, while everybody was kind of talking and jeering, Helen was able to kind of undo her binds. But like she didn't want to like escape. She was waiting for the right moment, and that moment came when Ray and Rain rejoined the party. Where it was on one side of the room was the two hostages, well, one hostage and one escapee, and the other side was their rescuers, Ray and Misty. Except Ray wanted to do like a stealth maneuver and toss like a ball of lightning as like a flashbang kind of thing to kind of stun them a little bit for the fight. So I had him roll stealth. He failed because he's not very good at it, and I had him say like, at that point, we're like playing IRL, so my cat like meowed at me, and I was like, yeah. You like step on something squishy and it meows, and it was a catfish, because catfish in my world meows.
Well, I mean, if it's a hag's catfish, then sure, probably.
Yeah. So
sense.
then like everybody turned around and they're like, oh no, it's you two, and then the fight commenced, and there were like a room full of 12 hags. Like,
yeah, man.
Some of them had different it was crazy.
What the hell?
I was like, I don't really know how you guys are gonna get out of this, but here's 12 magic users. Good luck.
Thoroughly unpredictable. You also had a layer action going on.
Oh yes, I also had a layer action where the pots, the cauldron, would like one of the hags will toss one of the blood-soaked coins into the pot, and then something crazy would happen come out of it. Although I put this all together like an hour before you guys showed up, which was hard. because I didn't want everyone to be like an actual sea hag because I think they were like CR4. So I looked up like all of like the magic characters that were like a little bit lower level. So then I was like, okay, some of these are these things. Some of these are actual using the hag stat, and some of them are serious hags. Like Zilla was an actual like night hag or something.
Night hag.
Or night or Annis hag. I forget which one it was.
I
think
assumed
it was
Annis hag because she didn't like wipe the floor with us.
Yeah, it probably was an Annis hag. I know that she was like near the top of your CR cap.
Yeah.
So it was like she was a pretty big threat. So she was the boss, and they had like a green hag, and then I had two I guess proper sea hags. But it was cool because I got to name them kind of funny names like Peggy, and one of them was named Shoe. The other one was named Sock. One of them was Gretchen. All sorts of stuff, and I had like the most fun time during combat, just all the hags just yelling at each other because they're just not organized. And like even if one of them kind of fails at doing something, the other hags would just make fun of them, and everybody had a good time during that fight, I think.
Yeah, this gaggle of randos. There was a moment that I thought was very funny with Misty and Ray, because one of the witches tried to do like this drown kiss effect on Ray, who could water breathe anyway, so it would have been a moot.
Yeah.
And then Misty like annihilated them.
Right. So Misty has this on again, off again relationship with Ray. By the way, Misty's character and Ray's character in real life are engaged, right? They're fiancés, right? So this is fine. This is very funny. This water hag kind of comes up and was like, or this hag is like, "I'm gonna kiss you now, boy," and puts her lips on him. But because of the water breathing potion that lasts for a while, we didn't really check. We're just like assuming that it would work. I thought it was funny as hell that like this hag tried to drown this man with his kiss, but turns out he can breathe on the water, and she's like, "Uh-oh." And then immediately, the will they, won't they girlfriend shows up and immediately eviscerates her. But it was sad because I believe that was Shu. And then her sister Sock was like, "No, Shu," and everybody was like, "No, Shu." How could you do that?
His favorite.
Right. And throughout the fight, it was fun. I wasn't too worried because these guys they weren't hard to hit, and they didn't have that much HP. It was basically like 1 or 2 hits from everybody would probably do it. But then I had all these cool, crazy hag abilities that I'm able to I just made up on the fly really before then. I just went through the monster manual and some books I had on hand and just took cool monster abilities, because like in my world, is my homebrew, hags and witches can really do anything. It's because they're able to like grab the heads of monsters, right? Or like take like crazy otherworldly knowledge, because they're not quite, they're a little bit fae, a little bit occult, a little bit of everything, right? A little bit of arcane, so they're able to like dabble in a whole bunch of stuff. So I was like, anything that I saw that was kind of cool, I took, right? So then I had these cool abilities where I had one of them, I think Gretchen had it. Gretchen, the green hag, she pulled out a basilisk head, like a preserved basilisk head in a jar, and she was able to use its eye beams on people, which is funny. I had one of them cast like a hex spell on as like a combo, where it was the old school witches hex, like evil eye, and I even just like did the funny evil eye thing at Pain at the table to really home in how silly this is. So he would, for the next round, he would just, anytime he rolled a die, he would have disadvantage from 5e.
Yeah.
So fun stuff like that. So Pain was actually, funny enough, Pain had to make fortitude saves, a whole bunch of fortitude saves, but his character's good at it, but he was evil-eyed, so he was cursed, so you only could take the lowest one, which I think he only failed once, and he did a lot of them, but his fortitude save was so high anyway. If I did to anybody else, I think somebody would have turned to stone that fight, but that was good planning on my part. But another cool ability I took, I was like, okay, I think there's a cool idea if one of the hags like has like a voodoo doll kind of thing, but instead of like manipulating one of the characters, taking control of them, she just like rips out its shadow and then attaches it to the puppet, so now the shadow is like a shadow version of them. And I did it to Ray, who is arguably one of the scarier characters on the team, so he was like, oh shit, I have to fight myself, my shadow self. and I had like the witch act out like, oh yeah, it's like she's playing with a little doll, which is this crazy shadow monster thing. So that was like pretty funny.
Those witches, man.
Yo, I had tons of fun, man. I had some witches casted shillelagh. I described their staffs as like having all these like bones and stuff attached to it, and then they just start vibrating as like saws, and I was like, everyone was like, oh shit. I had some witches blast people with water guns. Essentially, it was fun. Everybody was like, what the hell is happening? Because I think at that point everybody was just solely just fighting like melee characters at that point, right? For the most part, like nothing this crazy.
Yeah, no, I know. I was definitely like, Helen was trying to like, for one, get some sneak attacks in on the main witch, and for two, get her blood back and get her coin back specifically. But I got trapped in a bone cage a couple of times.
Oh yeah. The head witch Zilla, she has an ability to summon like a cage of iron nails,
yes,
which I couldn't tell if it was like fingernails or like nails, like hammer, like for like wood and stuff. And I was like, I don't know. I just said nails, so whatever anybody said.
Yeah, the creepiest option.
The creepiest option for sure, all the time. So Helen was there. To be fair, like as far like I wasn't too worried too much. I think everybody was passing their saves, so I was like, having fun, goofing off, having these witches say all these funny ass one-liners. Some witches ran away because they were scared, because they were like, a lot of them were being dropped. I think Zilla was trying to cast some spells. I didn't use anything crazy. I just mostly just relied on my made up nonsense. There was a layer action where I had a random table of stuff to happen. One of them was just like, I don't know, a bottle flies off the shelf and whacks somebody's head and some cool thing happened. There was other crazier ones where like you would switch places with a random enemy, but you wouldn't know which one was which, and it was a 50% chance of you hitting your friend or something like that. But anyway, one of the witches, obviously Angie, betrayed her coven because she's like tired of them dogpiling on her all the time and making fun of her, and decided to be a traitor and switch sides to the players. And then she actually ended up taking a hit from one of the witches, and was able to save Rain from like a croak attack where the witches turned into like, their heads turned into frogs, like giant frogs, and they were using these like bellowing croak attacks, which was funny as all hell. Everybody was like, what the hell is going on? I don't want to be here. Witches, man. It's so weird. Angie saved Rain, and they were able to, you guys ended the fight off where, I forget who killed, I told everybody, I was like, listen, you guys have to kill everybody. If you kill the 4 head witches, or the 3 remaining head witches, who are the main coven, which is like Zilla, the Annis hag, Gretchen the green hag, and Sock, which is the water hag, I think they'll run away. I think you killed Zilla and you ended up killing Sock, and everybody else, I think Gretchen was the only one alive, and then she just like told everybody to cheese it, which was cool. And we ended the fight there. We ended the session there. I think everybody was like, oh my god, we have to rescue Angie. Brought Angie back up.
Everybody?
Whoa.
Hold the phone. Helen did not care for Angie.
Okay. Okay, man. Okay. Listen, 3 out of 4 party members were like, Angie's the best.
Yeah, suddenly everybody's in love with Angie, who was just draining some of Helen's blood, saying how much she'd like to taste a halfling.
Okay, so we brought back Angie. Angie was like, oh, cool, thanks. And she's like, oh, big sis to Rain. And Rain's like, yes, you're with me now. You were having, Helen was having none of it. Ray was just still trying to recover. Oh yeah, since the basilisk only partially changed Ray's body into abs, or to stone. We're like, yeah, Ray has like rock hard abs. During the fight, there was one moment where we were like, oh shit, Ray's like, I need to get around this pillar because it's this column or whatever from the cave, but I can't get around it in time and like with enough action to land this hit. And I was like, okay, cool, man. Since you're kind of desperate, you can, let Jojo, Pain's demon-possessed axe, flow through you for a little bit to give you some power. And then, I described it as like nails or like jabbing into his arm, like he feels like it is, and he was able to just like completely like smash through like a stone column with his bare body, and it was able to, I think he landed a crit too, something ridiculous.
He just Kool-Aid Man through that column.
Yeah, he Kool-Aid Man through the column and took down Sock. It was like over for Sock. And another sign, our resident druid Rain casted Fireball right after I think I had Peggy, one of the witches, throw a chair at one of you guys because she was like done with this. Yeah, everyone was like, "What are you doing?" Everyone was like, "Damn it, Peggy, get serious." That was so funny. But Peggy got annihilated by that fireball, but nobody else did. Poor Peggy.
They all rolled pretty well, surprisingly, and it was like it was widened too.
Oh yeah, it was a pretty mega fireball. But anyway, so Angie's back up. Angie was like, "Well, I'll tell you everything I know, but take me with you." Right? And you're like, "But we want to tie you." But you're like, no, the hag can't go on the boat unless she's tied up. And she's like, "No." Angie's like, "No, I'm a good guy. I won't drink any more halfling blood, I promise." Even though it's tasty.
Yeah, they still had a bowl of it. Like, Helen got the coins out of the bowl, and then she just like dumped the thing on the ground.
Yeah. It was fun. It was good. And that's what we call the session, because at that point I was done. My voice was done. My brain was spent. And that whole thing was all made up pretty much like, I mean, I had like the skeleton of it in my mind a little bit, but all the finer details and stuff was kind of on the spot that day, which was cool. I'm pretty impressed with myself, actually.
Yeah, congrats. We could talk about that a bit, because I'm kind of wondering, like, so you like, how much time did you have to write that, and like what was the skeleton that you came with? If you want, how much, I don't know how much detail you want to go into with that, but like what did you have?
So it was like, there's a giant shark and a bunch of hags. That's it.
Well, those are two things that happened.
Yeah, I was like, I remember from the session, like, hags are the main villain, but also there's this giant shark. I think it was a giant undead shark in the actual mission, or the camp, or the adventure, sorry. But yeah, it was like, I remember there was a giant shark, so I was like, okay, I found the giant shark in the bestiary. And there was a bunch of hags, and I was like, okay, well, the one thing I've fallen in love with, I think it's actually my favorite creature, is just kind of like hag / witch / evil fae kind of deal, where you're able to kind of just like make up some stuff and kind of have, and like nobody would really question it.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. And all of the tomfoolery I came up with, like everybody was like, "Oh yeah, this is awesome. This is exactly what I thought this was gonna be like." Which is pretty cool, yeah. Other than like maybe finding some low-level magic users that's in, or spellcasters that are in the bestiary that's already kind of made up with some stats and some spells and stuff like that, to like be so I can reskin them as like witches, like lower level witches. That was the only thing I did, just because, like, and I wasn't really trying to min-max anything. I was just trying to find something that was, low enough in your range so they won't pose too much of a threat that you could actually take care of in terms of like hitting them and doing enough damage to them to maybe get them down in 1 or 2 rounds, and still cool enough where they're able to have like some spells I can draw off on if I wasn't trying to use one of my silly made up shit. Which is cool.
Well, that's just totally reskinning stuff. I should do that more. I don't know. I'm always like trying to find something specific, and then because I've gotten so used to the tools of Foundry, which allows you with a click to just make something elite or a weak version of it. So for me, like, I wanted a bunch of a certain kind of enemy, but they were all fairly low level for the party, so I just made them all elite versions, so they're like up a level. Instead of just doing what I should have done, which is just knowing the level I want and then reskinning something.
Oh, yeah. Well, I do that quite often because, like, or I'll just steal something from an ability somewhere and just use the DC from whatever the creature that's using it, right? Just because, like, I don't really know if this ability is appropriate for the level, because I feel like that's not the case. Like, a Basilisk I think is a higher level than all the witch that actually use the ability. They might be close enough, but like, I guess turning into stone is pretty serious at any level, so it doesn't actually matter, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, to be fair,
yeah.
like she had the head of it, so whatever, she can do it.
Oh yeah, totally. It was fun, which is cool. I like that some of them ran away, so she can show up later.
Great.
Which is awesome. I love it when bad guys were able to get away.
Good thing this campaign is very far away from the water.
I know, right? It's almost like I planned it.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
You blatantly didn't.
I totally didn't. Yeah, Pirate Cafe is the best with you guys. I love the group that we have because everybody's really easygoing and just, it's less about like the story and more about the characters and like doing something cool at the table. I think I mentioned it when I was on at like 2 podcasts ago where we fielded one of Rebecca's questions where it was like, how do you do session stuff? When I was like, honestly, you just have to go somewhere cool, meet somebody, meet somebody new, and fight something cool, right? Like have a cool combat. Like if you just do all that, or like learn something cool, right? So it's like, if you do all that kind of stuff and just your session will be fine. You don't have to plan it everything because I think I had like the cool hag lair. I had the idea mostly of like what was going on with Helen and her cool crazy curse powers, not powers but the curse, and like some cool enemies to fight, which was the bunch of hags where I was able to do kind of some stuff. One thing I didn't really do is like I think Zilla might have been scary. I don't know if she was that scary. I think she like clawed some people sometimes. I think she was just scary in principle.
I mean, she was scary for me. I was up in her grill, and then she put me in a cage.
Oh yeah, true. Like she did. I think the fight was only like maybe 4 rounds. I think maybe 3 rounds. Actually, I think it was only 3 rounds, but there's a lot of people, so it was kind of hectic. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like she only like walked up, dropped a coin into the thing, put you in a cage. I think she tried to like. I think she grabbed the fire, the pendant. The MacGuffin, the fire medallion from Rain. Mm-hmm. And then Angie was able to pick it up and toss it back to her, and that's when everybody knew like Angie was like a traitor or something. So it was pretty cool. Yeah, no, it was cool.
I don't trust her.
Well, that's true. I mean, a bunch of hags kind of stole her blood, but hey, it's cool because I was talking to my wife later in the session or whatever, and she's like, her whole character is like would be cool if she was able to, go back to the rainforest, like the forest that she protects, and maybe set up something like more, right, than just her in the forest, right? And I was like, yeah, man, for all intents and purposes, like you could have a hag coven right here, or like a coven, right? Because a coven only takes 3. Yeah. To me, in my world, it's like the 3 witches or whatever, right? That's like in mythology in our world. So I was like, yeah, man, if you have 3 naturey magic users on board, you can just have a coven. You have cool coven powers like, where's Sharknado or like shit like that, right? You guys can. Oh, I think at one point before she was like, oh, can I make your ship into a submarine? And I was like, there's no way for you to do that. She made the roll right, but she rolled really low. And I was like, yeah. Like even if you made a high roll, you weren't able to do that, but that kind of stuff can happen if you have a coven, which I think if she convinces Jasper to be a part of it, she has Jasper, Angie, and herself, and that's 3, so she's able to like maybe start doing some cool shit to your ship if she wanted to.
No,
but I don't think Helen wants that.
No, not as long as Angie's involved. Jasper she'll trust, Rain she'll trust somewhat. But Angie, who was just like, hey, halflings taste pretty good.
They do. They taste pretty good. What do you want from her?
While that may be true, it's rude to say it out loud.
That is true. So yeah, no, Angie is another added to the list of NPCs that have joined the roster of the Mermaid's Dagger. Maybe as a prisoner for now, until she's proven herself to be trustworthy. And not trying to steal any more halfling blood.
I'm very curious if she will be able to do that at all. Yeah, I'm excited for the next one. I'm actually, because I used Hags a while back in one of my sessions, but it was more like in the middle of a city, so there was like the Annis Hag that I ended up using, which is sort of why I recognized the one that when you showed it to us, what her true form looked like. But at the time she was just in disguise, so she didn't actually start a fight with the party, and they were a bit lower level, So I was, and this was kind of fresh off of the second party death. So I was real nervous about throwing this combat at them. But yeah, she was just in disguise, and it was just like so very different from what you ended up doing, because she was a lot more composed, a lot more. Well, at the time, she was just like a ripoff of the tall vampire lady from Resident Evil. That was her disguise.
True.
Because Anna's hags are like the physically largest ones, if I recall.
Yeah, they are they're like the physically largest and strongest of them. Yeah.
So I don't know. I want to go back to my old hags, because I had some other stuff that I didn't get to use yet, and now I want to make them a bit weirder after all of this.
Oh yeah. Well, here's one with dice secret second GM tip of the week. If you're running hags, steal a bunch of magical beast abilities and just have them be like jars and spells and stuff like that. Just tell them like she just carries around like a dehydrated head of a thing and it's able to do something like that, right? Like I could totally imagine like, you know, a hag having like the head of a drake or something like that as like an ornament like in her hag place, and just be like flip with her finger and the thing comes alive and shoots like a fireball out or something like that, right? Like it's you can do all sorts of cool stuff with hags, and I think that like the sky's the limit with kind of how kind of goofy, scary, creepy stuff you can pull off.
Yeah, man. I don't know, because now I'm thinking about how that boss fight ended up in Resident Evil, and I want to do something weird with the hags. I was gonna have them be sneaky-ish, but now I want to do some weird stuff. So maybe that party will run to them. Who knows?
Ooh, sounds fun. Yeah.
Gosh, is there anything else you want to say about this game? I know I got some of those cursed doubloons now, so I got to figure out what that means. And Angie can explain some things.
Yeah, I have to figure out that too, Calvin.
I know.
But by the next time we run, because I think next time the group meets, I think Rebecca might run her high school campaign.
Yes.
So I might have a little bit of time to figure out more of the story. But yeah, no, you got a couple cursed. I think you got 10 of those cursed doubloons that have been soaked in blood and your blood and stuff like that. So you know, damn man, what the hell's going on? Why? Oh yeah, one of the things I think is really funny you mentioned is like you were like really surprised that you got black flagged, or not black flag, black pearled or whatever.
Yeah, black pearls. Because of the Pirates
black
of the
pearled.
Caribbean.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, that's like the pirate movie. Of course, I'm gonna rip it off. Like, but it's so funny how you didn't get it until like right now with all these cursed doubloons.
Yeah, it wasn't until like the doubloons, and then you like had to actually point it out, and then I was like, oh god, I've been black pearled.
You've been black pearled, no.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to that. Also, I might multi-class into gunslinger. I don't know now that the book is out.
Oh, sick. Yeah, do it. It'd be cool. I think this campaign is fun because, you know, I don't have to worry too much about you guys. I know you guys are basically a bunch of walking tanks, throwing around nukes and shit. So, but I think Helen is a little bit... She's in the narrative sense. Like, half the stuff that the party's doing right now wouldn't be possible if Helen didn't exist in the party, right? But I think that Helen might be lacking in like usable cool stuff. Right? Because technically like Jasper and Crow and the ship and everybody on the ship it's like, I would say that's Helen's special magic item kind of thing, right?
Right.
Like, you know, but that's a part of your character directly. But I think that like it isn't as cool as a powered up demon axe or like flying shoes or like the ability to walk on water whenever you want, right? So sometimes in fights I think it could feel like Helen's not contributing, but I think for the story wise Helen's contributing a hell of a lot.
She is contributing the way they get around, and if it wasn't for her they would have escaped to Lydia, so
Yeah, that's true, they wouldn't have, which was awesome, and I had no clue that this is where the game would be. And I've been having a blast running it for you guys. I know that there's been like little, like it's been a long time because there's all these breaks in between, but I'm glad that everyone shows up at the table. Everyone's super excited to play. So that's something I look forward to every time.
All right. Well, if you are looking forward to hearing more about that, just hit the subscribe button to hear more about our various campaigns or any other GM tip episodes that we put up. We talk about Lancer a whole lot if you're interested in that, so be sure to, subscribe so you can hear more of it. And of course, follow us on the Twitter and well, not Facebook necessarily, but our website, withdice.ca, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
What else? Shoutouts?
Shoutouts? Yeah.
Okay. Well, up top, I do want to shout out the United Paizo workers who are currently working on building a union. Some people who work for Paizo and are, there are some stories about some management issues with Paizo that came out a couple of weeks back, and people have been talking about, Paizo accountability. So I just want to make sure we mention to support that sort of thing. I'll put a link to their Twitter and to their website in the description so you go read more from them and get more details from the actual people there, so you can get more information on that. I don't want to ramble about it and be vague about it when they have all the information out there, so be sure to check that out. I'll have it linked below. Also, shout out to some of our friends and pals in the Lancer community, such as Shaka's Field Guide to Umfukane, which is a awesome Lancer setting that you can check out on itch.io. If you check it out there, you can get a PDF of the setting and an LCP file to put in your CompCon, so you can use all the parts of it, as well as a link to Celeste's NPC guides for Lancer, which you can go check out if you want to put some, if you want to get some ideas of how to use some of the Lancer NPC templates. You can go check those out, see how they work together, and have some little adventures with some specific template types. Additionally, this is a pretty big one, the Untold Stories Project channel, where I am every week playing Mutants and Masterminds on Mondays. So our episodes go out on Wednesdays. We record them on Sundays, they go up on Wednesdays, but, so by the time you're hearing this, all of this will have happened, but go check out USP, because there's a bunch of stuff going on this week. First off, on Monday, where we have our regular Mutants and Masterminds episode, we're doing a bit of a detour in the Nether War situation. We're doing a one-shot, taking a trip to hell. One of the characters, Mortis, briefly disappeared a couple of sessions ago. We're going to find out what happened to him and maybe catch up with some other people in the underworld. I might be playing a dead version of my character or something different. Hopefully by the time this goes up, you will know. Then on Tuesday, this is the big news. They've already announced it, so I feel safe saying it here. Also, it will have happened by the time you hear this. But it'll be their first ever crossover. They started a new Mutants and Mastermind show airing on Tuesdays a couple weeks back. And we're having a bit of a crossover with them. If you've read the Emerald City Knights campaign, then you know that there's an incident involving the new Emerald City characters and the Freedom League. Fortunately, we're able to do that with actual players. So be sure to show up for that. I know Aaron's gonna have to deal with 9 players, so it's gonna be really exciting.
9 players. Oh my god, maybe we should bring these. We should probably put these at the front. They're super interesting every time you say I get the. We should get the wrap up, the little 5-minute wrap up. Oh yeah, by the way, this crazy thing happened, and it's what?
Yeah, man. Oh, it's really fun being there. I'm so glad that whole channel and whole community is just really glad to have me around, because I am around. I am going to be in that as well, playing Bowman. So you get to hear me do my Bowman voice on a different day.
Stop. Don't kill me.
And then on Wednesday, they will have a D&D 5th edition one-shot, Camp Clearwater, which is going to be sort of this 70s, early 80s horror movie taking place at a summer camp.
Oh, cool. That sounds like American Horror Story. I think they had a camp setting for one of their seasons.
I have zero familiarity with this, so I'm just going to go and hopefully wing it, and maybe I'll be the first to die. I actually have no idea what's going to happen. I just made my character and that's it. So yeah, be sure to check all that cool stuff out over on the Untold Stories Project channel. I'll have a link to their Twitch, but you can also check them out on YouTube, where you should be able to catch up on everything there. But yeah, I think that's about everything I have to mention.
Awesome. Okay, Calvin, there's actually one more thing you gotta say before we can get out of here.
Oh, right. I almost forgot to say the thing that I've said 66 times now is for everybody out there to keep on winning with dice, and we'll see you next week.
All right, see you guys.